This 1-hour webinar is an immersive online experience for stakeholders, including educators and learning facilitators in Nigeria, through an opportunity to engage with presenters who are international education influencers and practitioners at a research-intensive university, such as the University of Witwatersrand, South Africa. This webinar aims to inspire tangible opportunities for post-COVID-19 Nigeria. The webinar acknowledges the disruption caused by the COVID-19 pandemic. In addition to this, it presents the exponential shift that the use of technology, innovation, and learning can bring about to propel a shift forward into the future of learning and work for Nigeria. So we're very, very excited at Workplace to be co-hosting this program. Very, very elated, very excited. The partnership behind this webinar series is what I just want to quickly touch on now before I introduce our first presenter. This webinar series is a joint partnership between WITS Commercial Enterprise, a wholly owned a wholly owned subsidiary of the University of Witwatersrand, Johannesburg, and Workplace Innovation and Training Solutions Limited in Nigeria. And so you're all welcome once again to this phenomenal webinar. Our first presenter is Professor Lisa Short, all the way from Australia. Lisa is the founder of Mind Shifting and Arete Business Performance Australia. She's an internationally renowned transformational strategist, innovator, entrepreneur, digital technologist, educator, advisor, mentor, and an ambassador of change. Our mantra is that big challenges require big solutions, and never be afraid to deliver them. So it's my delight to welcome Lisa Short. Over to you.
Thank you. Thank you everyone for that. A wonderful introduction, and thank you for Witwatersrand and WITS for organising today. I'm just going to share my screen. So if you can just stop sharing, I'll share. Okay. In 2 seconds. There we go. It's always good when technology works, especially when you are a digital technologist. So again, welcome to everyone who's joined the webinar, and what a fantastic opportunity it is to build a partnership between Witwatersrand and Nigeria. You can see from my presentation, and I'm sort of going to lead into the conversation, I suppose, and sort of motivate everyone. And I'm pretty well known for pushing the boundaries and challenging people and getting them to think differently. And obviously, one of the entities that I've started is called Mind Shifting for that reason. And often innovation does require people literally to shift their mindsets so they can actually take up the most opportunity moving forward. So today I'm just going to be talking about Nigeria's future is now. It's not post-COVID-19, it's not during COVID-19, it's now. COVID-19, if anything, has improved the opportunities and escalated where we were on probably an exponential learning curve to what I would say is a vertical learning curve. So I'm going to be talking about the way that ecosystems can be designed to build a unification for both socioeconomic resilience and sustainability for Nigeria, and of course through learning. So Nigeria is ready to take a seat at the world table, and you can see here, I've got the little image there of Nigeria, and it might be a little state, but it's a very important place. And it is time for Nigeria to take a seat at the world stage, and it's also a time for Nigeria to take ownership of a stage within Africa itself, and your future is now. So just some really brief things that I've put here, and there are many, many more, but opportunity abounds. Nigeria accounts for 47% of West Africa's population. One thing that you do have is you have one of the largest youth populations in the world who are hungry to learn. In terms of some of the physical capacities you have, greater than 77% of all of Nigeria, the land is arable and capable of producing. You have a massive rise of fintech and frontier technology, especially blockchain. The appetite and the leapfrogging for the acceptance of blockchain technologies has opened up a massive world of opportunities to overcome challenges in Nigeria for small to medium enterprises. Now in Nigeria, and this is an amazing statistic, it's some of the best statistics in the world in terms of this category of business. Small to medium enterprises in Nigeria account for 48% of your entire national gross domestic product, or GDP. They are 96% of all businesses, and 84% of all employment is engaged in small to medium enterprises, and yet they are still the underserved part of the market. So your starting point in some ways is to think a little bit differently, because most learning institutions, most businesses start and think corporate. They think that remaining 4%, but you're missing 96% of the market. And in terms of learning, you're missing 96% of the opportunity to learn. So I like to talk about a term called neoteric thinking. And anybody that knows me knows I'm a bit of a wordsmith. But the word neoteric means you have to think differently. It is the first stage in transformational change. Just doing something doesn't mean to say that you actually create a new paradigm. You need to think differently about the problem, start with a blank page, fit the pieces of the puzzle together, make sure that you connect to wisdom, make sure that you accept new ideas and practices, but at the same time, connect to your roots and the wisdom of the academic rigor and the past pathways that we've taken. But neoteric thinking is critical in terms of moving forward. Now, I'm going to just put this into perspective. Why would I need to say this, and why would I need to think this in terms of, first of all, globally? Let's be really honest. What we're doing at a global level is not working. We have 1 billion people who've moved into global poverty. A very large percentage of those people live in Africa. We have an economic and a social recession, and it's not just caused by COVID-19. It's caused by failures in the last 10 to 15 years of the lack of innovation and moving learning, business, entrepreneurship, venture creation forward. We've got the sustainability goals that are not met and not likely to be met before 2030. And we also have 50% of the world's population, women and children, with no parity. So if we're going to move into a place of unified socioeconomic resilience, we need to do something a little bit more differently. Why learning? Why is what we're doing in learning not working? People and businesses are not skilled for the 21st century. We're into 2020, 20 years into the 20th century, and we have got people who do not have digital skills. That's unheralded in a failure in the learning system. We've got technology adaptation remains a significant challenge for those 96% of the market, the small to medium enterprises. You can see on the right-hand side of the screen there, I've said here, data is now more valuable than fiat, but most small businesses do not even understand what their digital footprint is. We've got graduates who are finding difficulty getting jobs because the education systems are still focused on white-collar jobs with little regard to innovation and entrepreneurship. So there's a disconnect. We haven't captured our digital footprint. Small to medium enterprises don't have the same opportunities to globally engage. There's what we call a missing middle. That missing middle is learning. It's access to capital. It's connecting graduates to entrepreneurship. It's giving the SMEs the skills and the capacities to grow their businesses and be sustainable and connect to globally trade, to want to have an opportunity to have lifelong learning, to engage with organisations like with Waterstrand and WITS. unless we actually bring them to the table and bring them to the market and bring them to learning and motivate them to learn, they will still be non-learners in the next 20 years. So there's some of the challenges that we have a massive opportunity to embrace. So, you can see that the image now has changed to colour and bright and opportunity. Our actions, we need to make it work. And when I say we, I'm talking about an ecosystem. I'm talking about joining together all the parts of our economy: learning, business, education, capital, opportunity for work experiences, opportunities for governments to start to change their systems, and public and private engage. Every single part in the ecosystem of sustainability and learning has an extremely important role. There's no mistake why the United Nations made SDG 17 partnerships critical. And in 2014, they partnered with the World Economic Forum and elevated the need for public and private partnerships in terms of education and connecting the community to critical levels of importance. I'm going to go through these briefly because I know I'm very mindful of time. But one of the critical areas that we need to unify us and unify resilience is the actual 21st century skills. And we call those transversal and psychosocial skills. They're skills and capacities. And you can see down the left-hand side here, they're grouped together. And the one that I'm really going to talk about though today is digital dynamics, because our digital footprint at the moment, particularly at the time of COVID-19, has become profound. But these sets of skills are the things that will unite us, the opportunity for us globally, not just within Nigeria, because Nigeria, if it has to take a seat at the international table, has to look outward. And these are the skills that the first time are going to engage Nigeria with the world. I will send these out as a slide later, so you can read those yourselves later. But the one that I really want to talk about very briefly is digital dynamics. And you can see here that digital dynamics and a digital footprint is not just about technology. It's about things like data. It's about intergenerational skills and competence. It's about creating new economic paradigms, new economics around ecosystems, new economics around decentralized systems such as blockchain. So I always put in a slide on blockchain because it is the thing that will profoundly change our world in the next 20, 50 to 100 years. You don't need to be the person who knows how to code it, but you do need to know about the systemic changes it will affect. And this is an area and an opportunity of learning that is extraordinary globally. There is no nation in the world who currently has a strategy for the rollout of education around blockchain, data, and AI from the top down, from government, and the bottom up from everybody individually, and every business in between. There is no global strategy for that, and it is critical. Educational institutions need to be involved. The reason? It is the thing that's going to unify us and connect us. It is things like a digital ID that will take a fragmented Africa and turn us into a connected Africa. It will give people opportunity to actually engage in education through accessing learning digitally and virtually. Bringing in digital currencies and the ability to include the unbanked. And of course, all of those together will give us the capacity to create thinkers and doers. They'll have a portfolio of 21st century skills that will lead them and serve them well to unify, not regardless of whatever job they go into, it doesn't matter. They will have the skills to have the resilience and the continuity to build. And these are the sorts of lifelong attributes that educational institutions need to be encouraging people into, connecting their education and their learning with opportunity in the markets that they're working in. I'll finish this just with this slide. And, in terms of as we move into Gavin and Tim's presentations, I asked the question, what sets your thinking apart? Every single person that's listening to this, what are you thinking about you're going to need to learn? How will you apply those skills? Because, and when will you take that step forward into learning? Because if you are standing still, you are in fact going backwards. You are not moving forward at all. So what does set your thinking apart? What's the very next thing that you know or you've identified that you need to learn? I know that's a lot of information in a very short period of time, but I hope it leads well into the next two presentations that we've got, and a huge opportunity that Nigeria has to really capture their future right now. Thanks, everyone.
Wow, that was incredible. Thank you so much, Prof. Lisa Schott, thank you so much for that amazing contribution. I'm sure you were constrained by time, and I'm sure we'll most likely have you again in subsequent webinars to share more light in this. Thank you so much. We'll go to the next, yeah, thank you. Yeah, we'll go to the next presenter now. We're pressed for time, and so pardon us, we just have to make sure we maximize the little time that we have. By the way, my name is Oladipo Clement, and I'm the Chief Executive Officer for Workplace Innovations and Training Solutions in Nigeria. So I just felt I should drop that quickly. Our second presenter is Mr. Gavin Olivier. Gavin is the Senior Partner and Managing Executive of WITS Digital Campus. He has extensive expertise in human resources consulting, program management, online learning, and strategic consulting. Gavin dreams of reaching people and growing their effectiveness beyond their own expectations. He believes that all people are filled with potentials, and he realizes that they need the encouragement and the will to realize their dreams. It's my delight to welcome Gavin Olivier.
Thanks very much for that introduction. I too am just going to share a presentation with you. So let's just get that up and running, and I'll put it into presentation mode, which you, if I can just get thumbs up when that presents in presentation mode, then that will be great. It's always tough being the second speaker when you've got to follow on from such an awesome opening presentation, Lisa. So no pressure for me, but I think what you've done is created a wonderful platform, and hopefully I'm going to lean into that and connect some dots as I go along. The topic that I'm going to be speaking about today is in the context of this changing world of work, which we're all very much part of. And the link back to that in terms of investing in our employee lifecycle and the way that's becoming crucial for us as HR practitioners, as business leaders, and as members of communities within which we operate. I'm sure many of you have seen a slide like this or similar slides before, and there's little doubt that the world of work has changed. Some say it's changed forever, and whether or not this was as a result of COVID is neither here nor there. You've heard from Lisa as well that the fourth industrial revolution, artificial intelligence, virtual reality were all impacting the way that we work and the way that we engage with technologies in the workplace, and the way this has massively impacted the way in which we engage with work, with our employees, and so forth. Businesses become so much more demanding of us as HR practitioners, and some, the early adopters, were fortunate enough to get ahead of the curve and have adopted some of the new thinking around technology and the impact that it's having in the workplace. But many have not and are playing catch up. And so part of what we've got to be thinking about is, in the context of this employee lifecycle, is to what extent and how are we leveraging the technology that we have available to us to make a meaningful and massive impact, both of the people that work for us, but also in broader society. As part of this rapid change, we've got to be considering how we're engaging with the workforce to ultimately ensure optimal performance. With this as context, with this massive change, along came COVID-19, and the pandemic caught us all off guard. We never knew this thing was coming. We weren't prepared for it. No matter whether businesses say they were or not, the reality was the businesses across the globe were caught unprepared and off guard. They weren't prepared for endless Zoom meetings. The institutions of higher learning weren't prepared for work from home, for no classes. And so everybody is playing catch up, yet the technology exists, and the ability to leverage this technology is what we're being challenged, and it's the call to adventure that we have. Yes, it's the impact of this pandemic is disastrous on economies, on personal lives, and the loss of life is massive. But equally in it, there's opportunity, and to leverage the technology, let alone what COVID has forced us into, is the opportunity that we have. And you heard some of that coming, something like blockchain. Linking back to what Lisa said is, do we really know enough about it in order to leverage it in the learning space and in businesses as a whole? In our African context, there are many struggles around simple things of accessibility, reliable internet, reliable electricity supply in our own country and other African states. And so as much as what we have this massive opportunity facing us to leverage technology, to leverage the new world of work, to what extent are we ready for it? To what extent have we got the acumen to be able to do that? Are all challenges that we constantly need to be aware of and are facing. And some of us are laggards, and we haven't stepped into the space as yet. And you may have seen the meme of, when asked, the CIO was asked, what has driven your digital transformation? His answer was COVID-19, not strategy. And so we have this opportunity to change. There's been massive cuts in jobs, and organizations are now looking to the remaining talent within their organizations to take them forward and move out of the space of pure survival into thriving into the future, because this too will pass, and we need to prepare ourselves for life post this. And it's this that I want to touch on in the coming part of the presentation. It's no secret that employee retention is true to company sustainability, and that careful consideration and support of all the phases of the employee life cycle are crucial to ensure that we're attracting the right talent, nurturing the right talent, growing it, and ultimately ensuring that they perform in our environments such that we produce the results that our stakeholders are looking for. And companies that adopt the employee-centric life cycle and focus across all elements, not just one or two, but all, ultimately see improved performance. They see improved retention, improved commitment to the organization, and ultimately increased revenue, which is clearly one of the focus areas for many organizations. And so what I'm going to do is just take a little journey through each one of these elements, particularly pausing on learning, and talk about our partnership with Wits University. Recruitment is the very first phase in the employee life cycle, and without a very talent-centered recruitment process, you're going to miss the right talent, and the war for talent is going to become more vigorous. And the question is, are you ready for it? Is the candidate at the center of your process, or are you simply outsourcing this to somebody else in your business and not really focused on making sure that you get into your organization the right people with the right skills in the right seats, aligned to your business, aligned to your culture, that are ready to perform? One of the key things that we need to start thinking of as business leaders and HR professionals is this idea that your recruitment process is the first step and is also very much part of the brand attraction. So people are going to be looking at you, and it's probably going to be the first time they see your brand. And to what extent are they attracted to it? And are you putting yourself out there as a brand that people want to work for? Are you creating an environment that is conducive ultimately to performance? We move on to onboarding. Many companies unfortunately see onboarding as an event and not as the process of embedding people into their organizations. Many people view this as it'll take a few weeks and Joe will be on board, he'll know what he needs to do and will perform optimally, when in fact that's not the case. Organizations see between 33 and 66% of their new hires leaving within the first 12 months. 33% of new hires don't last more than 90 days. And in a recent Gallup poll, only 32% of employers were actually reported as actually being engaged in their work. And we look back at this and say it's a function of poor onboarding, where people haven't bought into the culture, haven't bought into the ethos of who your business is and what you represent to them. And so people are not committed into the organization because they haven't been onboarded properly. And so the question back to you is, are you inviting people into a place they want to work for, where they feel they can belong and contribute, or are you merely creating a place where people show up for work? Moving into the idea, the area of career planning, employees join an organization to make progress for themselves, to build a brand, to build a career, to make a better life for themselves tomorrow. And so, in particular, the millennials, as they are gaining more presence in the market, are looking for continuous development, are looking for personal growth, and in that process need the career paths to be clear for them. And so they're looking to organizations to make very visible the career paths. And where they are not, people are left guessing and don't know what the next steps are, don't know what the next development areas are for them in order to make progress in their careers. And so the question back to each of us is, are our career paths clear? Do we know, and do people know what's next in their careers? The area that I want to pause on a little bit more is this area of learning. As a learning specialist in my own right and in my partnership with Wits University, we look at companies that invest in culture, that invest in a culture of learning as not a singular event, but there's this idea of lifelong learning. Again, linking back to the concept that Lisa spoke about. The environment of continuous development views learning as a daily journey. It's not an event. It's something that happens all the time. It does talk to mindset. It does talk to a new way of thinking. And ultimately linking the career development with the learning opportunities that are presented to people, where learning is put in the hands of the individual and not forced down from the organization, is really crucial. And it talks again to creating the culture within organizations that is centered around learning. Given the COVID pandemic, probably learning and recruitment are the two areas that we've seen in our experience with our clients as being the most disrupted, because suddenly, we can't do face-to-face training, we can't do face-to-face recruitment, it's very difficult. And so the opportunity that's presented to us is to really adopt digital learning more importantly in our strategies. And so in our partnership with Wits University, where we've developed the partnership and created the Wits Digital Campus brand, is really where we look to partner with Wits, take their short courses, their accredited short courses, into an online environment and deliver these to market in 100% online, using different blended learning styles to appeal to a broad range of employees through a supported learning journey. So we have access in this online space, because oftentimes online can be quite a lonely space. And so we have the human element underneath our online learning, both from the lecturer at Wits, as well as our support team that are there to support the learners throughout their learning journey, with access to this world-class learning content that assists them in making the progress that they need to. And as a result of the design and the elements that we've put together, we're able to achieve the significant retention and pass rates that appeal to the organizations, insofar as not only is the individual making progress and achieving the necessary certification, but also the investment from the corporate is getting positive return. So the world of online education is really a big step forward, and something that Wits has invested in heavily over the last 5 years in our partnership, and we're really grateful for that opportunity to bring that into the Nigerian context right now. Moving on into succession planning, this idea of build versus buy. To what extent are you building the talent pipelines in your own business fit for the jobs of the future, some of which we're not even sure of what they are today in this rapid changing world. And so we may very well be needing to lean into new technologies and deliver learning to people for jobs that don't exist today. Equally, we may need to look at our talent pipelines and say, we don't have the skills, we don't have the time to build it. And so we're going to buy it in. And we can only do that if we've got absolute clarity on the jobs that we have today and an insight into the jobs of the future, such that we develop what we call heirs and spares, and such that we've got this bench strength that is sitting there ready to perform today and into the future. So the question to each of us today is your talent bench ready to take on the challenges of the new world of work? And then the last area of the employee life cycle that I want to pause on is the area of performance. Industry leaders are moving away from high stakes annual performance reviews to employee-centric, there's that word again, the practice of performance management that utilizes continuous feedback and constantly getting people feedback on progress being made, where there's need for adjustment and development to improve performance. And ultimately, the demand of the modern performance management does not stop with the millennials. The Generation Zs are equally as demanding of this. And so the yearly and quarterly or monthly performance reviews even are no longer sufficient, considering the rate of change within the world of work. And so this idea of more frequent, more continuous performance reviews that perhaps even use some of the gamification styles of leaderboards and so forth in terms of how people are performing. And so the question to you is, are you still stuck in the old way of doing annual performance reviews and giving a person a rating out of 10, for example? My last slide, I'm conscious of the time, is just a wrapper that says, where we've seen organizations invest in the entire employee life cycle and not just pockets of it, we've seen massive improvements in employee retention, a boost of the reputation of the organization as an organization that not only cares for their people, but invests in their people and helps them build careers that ultimately allow them to make the progress that they're wanting to do. And through all of that, the discretionary effort of employees increases and ultimately results in increased revenues and a better performance of an organization. I mentioned earlier to Emmanuel, and he will distribute post the event an abstract of the Employee Experience Advantage book that I've downloaded for everybody that captures some of these elements and talks to the various components of how we build a workforce and businesses around an employee-centric life cycle. And so I want to thank you for the opportunity to share with you today and leave you with the question, are your employees at the center of your organization? Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Amazing. Amazing. Thank you so much, Gavin. Thank you so much. That's very inspiring. And anyone who is an entrepreneur here can relate very well to many of the things you shared. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. We'll move on now to the last presenter, the third, but not the least, right? And that's Dr. Timothy Horton, actually my namesake. Tim is the Director of Executive Education, Wits Business School, University of Witwatersrand, Johannesburg. Before his position, he was the Director of Short Courses and Consulting for Wits Commercial Enterprise, a wholly owned subsidiary of the University of Witwatersrand, Johannesburg. He has extensive experience in higher education consulting. He has worked in numerous African and European countries with both Wits and international partners. Please, let's welcome Dr. Timothy Horton. Over to you, sir. Can we have Dr. Tim?
He has to unmute himself.
Good.
Okay. Timothy, thank you for the introduction, and thank you for the partnership that we are forging together with Wits and Workplace Innovation and Training Solutions. And Lisa, thank you for coming in from Australia to be part of this, I believe, groundbreaking initiative of Wits in Nigeria. From my perspective, it's really exciting to be back in Nigeria. albeit virtually. And welcome to everybody once again to the session. The exciting part of this is that Nigeria has become the largest economy in Africa, driven by a population of 206 million people, which is in the top 10 largest economies in the world. And it's very interesting, as Lisa said, that we have in excess of 90 million citizens that are under the age of 18 years old. That means huge opportunities for development, huge opportunities for Nigeria to develop. As we look at the world economy, countries like Japan have an aging population, and that is causing a decline in their economy. Nigeria is on the up, and it can build on its abundance of resources. Just to name a few, oil and gas, which makes up 40% of, which makes up, sorry, not 40%, but makes up the largest income to Nigeria, a fantastic industry that is growing, and with various partnerships with the Nigerian government, I think will show that it grows and grows more effectively. Agriculture, and particularly rubber and cocoa, are major contributors as well to the economy. And then you have the services industry with banking and tourism and telecoms, also a major industry. And one of the things that really interests me is manufacturing and technology. And I noticed when I was preparing for this discussion that Nigeria even makes its own computers through a company called Zimox. Obviously, the automotive industry is very important, so that brings in the engineering sector. Energy is also very, very important, and I think Nigeria is one of the unique countries in the world where I believe 83% of energy is developed through biomass and waste, which is fantastic. So there only is a 16% contribution to energy via the fossil fuel manufacture, which is a major step in the correct direction. I also note, and one of my personal interests is nuclear energy. I also note that there are discussions going on with Rosatom to build a nuclear plant or a number of nuclear plants in Nigeria. It seems to be a trend in Africa. I know in Europe, Germany will be shutting down their plants. There's a reactor that was never commissioned in Austria. So there is a bit of a negativity towards nuclear power, but certainly Central Europe, although they don't want reactors in their backyard, actually are still very happy to use energy that comes either out of the former Eastern Bloc or out of EDF in France. One of the interesting pointers is that in Nigeria, there have been talks with Rosatom, the Russian nuclear utility. And I want to just note for your interest that WITS is in the process of agreeing a contract to supply and support Rosatom in training and development in Africa. So I think this discussion is opportune. From an education perspective, there are 129 universities, some of which are really fine universities in Nigeria, and 50 are privately owned. But certainly the government have established either regionally or through central government some fine universities. From a cultural perspective, rich in culture, the music and film industry is growing. Nigeria, and I can't miss out the Super Eagles football team. I think that's very important, and I should have my Nigerian football jersey on. to support. Maybe if we have another discussion like this, I may wear it. So rich culture, rich industry, huge potential. But the thing that strikes me in Nigeria, and Lisa's spoken about it and Gavin's touched on it, is the entrepreneurial spirit. All you need to do is drive down the motorway between Benin City and Warri, and you will see on every corner, not only entrepreneurs selling their goods, but small colleges that are training people. I saw a language school, I saw a university, fantastic activity, fantastic energy. And Nigeria sits with the opportunity of harnessing this. If I can just move on in the interest of time to executive education and further education, because it's not only executive education, we also, through WITS Enterprise, look at a number of engineering courses, a number of property management courses, a vast number of business courses, and then into other areas like healthcare, etc. And I haven't even touched on healthcare. Unicon, who are a membership association for business schools, did a survey prior to March when the pandemic broke in South Africa, and they found that digital blended learning made up 61% worldwide of offerings. So that was at the beginning of March. By the 18th of March, when the pandemic had really broken, business schools were up to 84% of digital and online offerings. At WITS, we embraced this, and we did it in a number of ways. We've used various platforms available to us for both academic and short courses, and we are fully online in the business school, offering what I call blended or digital courses, and then fully online courses through our partnership with Digital Campus. And we are about to launch MAP, the Management Advancement Program, which will be open for online, and then a further 6 online courses, including leadership courses. So our business school, I'm privileged to be part of a real transformation. So moving on, where are we going in higher education? In the Asian countries, there's been tremendous fraud with certification. Lisa touched on blockchain technologies in Asian countries, so that's in Singapore, etc. They are looking at blockchain for certification. We believe, and Gavin believes, that building a continuum of learning for our youngsters and for our workers is to allow them to develop their skills. An example of what Digital Campus has done at WITS, we started in 2015 with 129 learners. By 2019, we have in excess of 3,000 learners. And we hope that Nigeria is going to be part of that going on from 2020. In the interest of time, I would just like to comment on 3 critical stages of learning. These are generic skills with people that come out of school, out of university, they have a skill set. The key is to then ensure that they migrate into job-specific skills so that they can actually do their job. And finally, each organization, be it a small mom and pop business, be it a small entrepreneurial business, be it a major corporate, they need to develop a competitive advantage. And at WITS, we can do this, and I know it sounds like an advert, and it unashamedly is. This is the first opportunity for workplace innovation and training solutions and WITS to get together, and I think this is a strong partnership, and it will lead to a lot of development of people. So companies need to embed their competitive advantage, and we can do that together with our partners in Nigeria, to develop customized programs which are fenced off from the market and are specific to the organization. So my message to you though is, let's go out there and be bold. Let's, as Africa, and as Lisa said, use technology to combine ourselves. This is fantastic. I see that we have 67 participants online. I see 38 chats going on. This is a fantastic engagement from home. And this is what the new world of work is going to be. We're going to have to get used to it. And we're going to have to get used to people taking responsibility for their own development and not waiting for organizations to do it for them. So be it corporate, be it entrepreneurial, let's create the new paradigm together. Let's transform Africa into a fantastic nation that actually becomes the player on the world stage. So thank you to everybody, and thank you for the opportunity.
Wow, incredible. I mean, Dr. Tim, you seem to know Nigeria better than some of us do. I mean, that was incredible. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. It's time for us to take questions. So just in case you have any questions, please feel free to drop that in the chat room, and we'll be attending to that. We have barely 13 minutes to the end of this webinar, so you will do well to drop your questions right in the chat room. And then if you also want to be more specific, you can direct your questions to the specific presenters so we can take that right away. Thank you all for joining, and we do not take your joining for granted. Thank you so much. We hope you've also drawn value. So let's wait a few seconds to see if we have any question. Yes, African solutions for African challenges. Absolutely. Yeah. So it's Q&A session. Do you have any question about our programs, about what has been shared or presented? Kindly drop your questions. Someone is lifting up his hand. Samuel is lifting up his hands. Okay, so Dr. Orton, you have a question here. The person says, can the gradual shutdown of the nuclear facilities in Europe be a direct response to global environmental sustainability? What is the implication for Nigeria that's looking towards the nuclear direction? Doctor?
Okay, yeah, thank you. Yeah. And I love this question. It's a great opportunity for people to understand the very nature of nuclear power. Everybody sees nuclear as a dangerous way of generating power. Certainly nuclear had a poor start in Japan in terms of the Hiroshima disaster during the Second World War. But nuclear is a way of generating cheap and very, very clean electricity. And when we talk about nuclear, we don't only talk about power generation, we talk about all the other industries around it. The manufacture of radioisotopes that are healing many people who have cancer. So the whole radiation sector is built on the premise of nuclear physics. So yes, the lobbyists say nuclear is not the way to go. I'm not convinced. There have been 7 major accidents in the world to date. How many accidents have we had in fossil fuel power plants? Yes, when you have a nuclear accident, it is catastrophic. And we all use the Chernobyl example, but certainly the movie didn't do it any favors. So my view is that nuclear, which is controlled by the International Atomic Energy Agency, who we all work with, clearly have a very strict set of rules. And in applying those rules through the Atomic Energy Agency, nuclear, I believe, is the secret to certainly decent power and sustainable power in Africa.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Dr. Altin. All right, so someone has a question here. Okay, I've got a question for Professor Schultz. Now, Lisa, this is for you. So she says, what's the connection between blockchain and digital learning? I thought blockchain had to do with cryptocurrency. Can you speak to that, please? Lisa, it's over to you.
Can. I sure can. That's a favorite question. Where do you start? I could do hours on this, but very importantly, a cryptocurrency is only one very small use case for distributed ledger technologies and blockchain. And even in the space of digital currencies, if we talk about financial inclusion, we've got 1.6 billion people in the world who are unbanked. And digital currencies will in fact allow those people to join into the financial economy. And I need to remind people that if you don't have financial inclusion, you can't get an education. So that's a direct link just with cryptocurrencies. But let's just talk on blockchain technologies within learning itself. If every individual had a digital identity that they own, so a self-sovereign digital identity, for the first time, we would have learners curating and aggregating their lifelong learning skills into a digital portfolio that is transportable wherever they may go, wherever in the world they may be. Particularly if we also had digital credentials being issued and verified by every single university globally, which should happen tomorrow. It's not just pie in the sky stuff. This is capacity that's available right now, where an institution can digitally, on a blockchain, issue and verify a learning credential, so there can be no falsification of records, and the flow on of that into industry is profound. We also have, just for the institutions of learning, massive efficiency gains. If we can make systems within the businesses using blockchain technologies more efficient, we can shift resources within those institutions to start to deliver learning in a much more broad and efficient way, particularly to learners who can't currently afford learning. I'm going to talk data. In one of the slides that I mentioned in my presentation, data is more valuable than money. And at the moment, it is one of the abused assets that we have in the global economy. With blockchain technologies and decentralized technologies, we can actually convert that data footprint and start to commercialize and protect that data. And I'm going to talk about intellectual property in education. Can you imagine this? Every single piece of intellectual property that is created when we learn, if it was registered on a decentralized blockchain, every single time that piece of information was accessed, the actual owner of that information could commercialize that. Now that could go right down the pathway to individual learners. For the first time, we could actually have learners earning and learning from that ownership of data. The massive potentials are huge, and we were talking power before. We also have to think about the physical infrastructures of our learning institutions, where learning institutions can start to enter into decentralized trading platforms for power, where you might have a university in Nigeria who is using solar energy or tidal energy or nuclear energy, and they're producing too much, and they can trade directly with another university globally and do that directly peer to peer. So digital currencies is only one very, 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 very tiny capacity of blockchain and distributed ledger technologies. And as I said in my presentation, it is absolutely critical for every individual at every level of government, education, learning, business, and school leaders and school participants to understand the potentials of blockchain, so we can actually shift this conversation away from it being just about cryptocurrencies, which started sort of 10 years ago. So we're sort of 10 years forward on that. So that would be a very interesting presentation to do a whole presentation on blockchain and its potentials in the learning sector.
Wow, thank you so much. Thank you so much. Another question here, what competitive advantage is WIT's digital campus bringing to Nigeria? I think this should go to Gavin. Gavin, can you speak to this, please?
Yeah, thanks. So I think the competitive advantage really rests in bringing the best of both worlds to the Nigerian community. So you've got a world-class university such as WITS, oftentimes rated one of the leaders in the African continent as a university, bringing to the Nigerian community flexible online learning content that makes a difference in the lives of people. We've seen that certainly from the 6,000 people that we've hit and touched over the 5 years that we've been in place, that people's careers have moved forward, people's individual lives have moved forward, and back to the point around progress, and ultimately people have been able to make progress using the technology that's available to them. So the levels of flexibility, the levels of learning from the best that we have access to today really gives us the opportunity to bring that into the Nigerian environment. And then the opportunity to further leverage the type of content curation and creation within the Nigerian context. So there may very well be specific requirements that exist within the Nigerian environment. And that is one of the questions that we are going to explore with you, is to say, what is it that is germane in the Nigerian environment? Because, you know, we at the bottom tip of Africa don't, by any extent of the imagination, believe that we know what you need. And so if you're able to tell us specifically what is germane to you, we can develop content reasonably rapidly and bring that into your environment such that you know, it's contextually relevant for the struggles that you are having. So the levels of agility to bring that content into Nigeria is one of the key differentiators that we believe we bring.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Honestly, we still have more questions, but we won't be able to take further questions. What you could do is to reach out to us. We'll communicate that to you shortly. I think we better flip to Dr. Orton to give a closing remark. We're just 2 minutes away.
Okay. Thank you very much. And thank you to everybody that's participated in this. You know, it's really great, as I say, to be back talking to Nigerians in Nigeria. I look forward to actually visiting the country again when we can. I think you're giving us a fantastic opportunity as the WITS partnership, driven by Digital Campus and WITS Enterprise, to enter one of the most exciting countries in the world. So thank you to everybody that's participated. Thank you to our partners. I think we couldn't have a better partner in Nigeria in workplace innovation and training solutions. I must say, as a closing remark, WITS is not a university that is going to countries to colonize. We look for partnerships. We've done that in Tanzania. We've done that in Mozambique. We have done that in Namibia. And we look forward to doing that in Nigeria, where we come into the country, we build competence, and once the competence is established, we will move to the background and support it. So thank you for the opportunity. Timothy, thank you to you. Lisa, thanks to you and Gavin. And Melissa, thank you to you and the WITS Enterprise team for inviting the business school to be part of this.
Thank you very much, Doctor. And thank you, Lisa. Thank you, Gavin. We appreciate you. And thank you to all of our guests for joining this class. You want to reach us at workplace here in Nigeria, please reach out to us on +234 81 000 89478. I'll take it again. +234 81 000 89478, or just simply send an email to office@witsng.com, or you visit www.witsng.com. We're very delighted you joined today. Thank you so much and have a lovely weekend.